we're actually going to start with calories in, calories out is the only thing that matters. Because if this was true, this was a fact, then we, number one, wouldn't have the rates of obesity. And number two, you wouldn't see so many people struggling to lose weight, dealing with metabolic syndrome, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, all of these things. Yes, a calorie deficit matters when you're trying to get into, fat loss and weight loss. But the caveat here is when you have chronically dieted. So you've eaten 800 to 1,200 calories for a long period of time. And now you're dealing with all types of symptoms related to low hormones or hormonal imbalances, GI issues. So we know that when you slow the body down, you give the body less energy than it needs to function optimally. Your thyroid slows down, your digestion slows down, you have a lot higher levels of inflammation because you're under recovering, you're not getting in the diversity of nutrients that you need and the amount of energy that you need to keep up with the stress demands in your life. Your blood sugar is all over the place because of this stress. So when we think about dieting, it is a stress to the body. Being in a calorie deficit is removing energy that your body needs to function optimally. So your sleep is probably going to be thrown off. You're more tired, right? You're tossing and you're turning. You just notice that generally you're not moving as much. You're not lifting as strong. If you are in the gym and you're training, maybe you don't feel as motivated in your day to day. You're finding energy crashes because your blood sugar is off. There's a lot of things here because again, your body is designed to do one thing, and that is to keep you alive. And it's going to slow down all the systems in the body to conserve energy because you are in such a massive calorie deficit. And this is where we call deprivation dieting, where somebody is, and hello, somebody is eating 1,000, 1,200 calories under their total daily energy expenditure for extended periods of time.
Just saying. I told you so. Liz is seeing the effects of some of her choices.
Yeah, I mean,
and it sucks. I'm seeing it too. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're both going through really hard health journeys right now, and we are realizing kind of the damage that you ultimately do without knowing a lot of times, right? Like neither of us intended for this to happen. And so it's...
Yeah. And I think for me, identifying some of the things that we just found from the genetics is a huge piece of the puzzle that was missing. But from a blood sugar standpoint, for sure, eating higher levels of protein, overtraining, under eating, and not fueling my body properly with adequate carbohydrates for my thyroid was huge. Yeah. And so, we'll get into this on another podcast, but from a blood sugar standpoint, this is something that Becca and I would retract a lot of our statements a few years ago on in terms of you need 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein. Yes, in certain seasons, for sure, but it depends upon the person. And if you're doing this for a long period of time where you're eating high levels of protein, and you are under eating calories overall, you're going to become insensitive to this. And your body essentially starts to turn that protein into glucose. And it actually starts to burn muscle, which I've experienced.
Which at the end of the day, basically makes it really hard for you to lose weight. And you often gain weight.
And you're inflamed.
You're inflamed. Your body's eating your muscle. It's not eating your body fat. And so you become more fat, essentially, in terms of percentage wise. So there's a lot more to it than, macros and one of the myths, calories in, calories out, that we're going to cover. The body is so complex. And if it was as simple as, eat less food, we would not have the massive amount of issues that we see our clients and females deal with. So number one myth.
I started with calories in, calories out.
Fuck.
It's okay.
I was kind of confused there because I was like,
I went to number 5 and I started. So we're going to start with this. That's okay.
Okay.
So you can just say something.
Okay.
We wouldn't see and then move on.
I totally forgot.
So as mentioned, calories in, calories out, something along those lines.
Okay. As mentioned, calories in, calories out is not the only thing that matters. Is this, this first myth that we're kind of busting right now, because I think a lot of people out there are very big preachers of what we call COCI, calories in, calories in, calories out. And it's not the reality. We see it every single day.
And what I would love to ask those coaches, because again, we're looking back on ourselves and we have a mirror here. This was us 8-9 years ago. What do you do in the instances where that doesn't work? And by the way, guys, that's how we got into doing what we're doing now. With all of the education and training that we've done over the last 8 years, it is because we had clients that calories in, calories out wasn't their problem. Like they were doing the hard work. They were adhering. You have another subset of clients that were not adhering or telling you the full story, but you generally have. And we see it with the population of, I would say, anywhere between mid 30s and mid 50s. The era that we come from, the low fat diet, low carb, era, and 1,200 calories. Like that's what we were told. Weight Watchers. You count your points, right? You're eating in a drastic calorie deficit. Optavia. Like we lived in these eras, and now we're seeing early menopause, more autoimmune conditions than we've ever seen before. And that's why we got into studying what we do with functional nutrition, because I will fight somebody to tooth and nail to beat us on this. There are clients where they are eating in a calorie deficit and their body is not responding.
And it's getting worse. Like the body is responding in a worsening way. And like Liz was saying, early menopause, I wanted to touch on that really fast. Most females, if you are under the age of 55 to 60, you are likely not in menopause if you think you are. You are probably in a state of low hormones, or what we would call lifestyle-induced menopause. That is 1,000% reversible in almost all of the cases. You have created that environment through chronic stress, lack of intake consistently throughout the years, potentially other system dysfunction within the body, whether it's digestive, whether it's, blood sugar, whatever it might be. You basically deplete your hormones over time. And so it seems like menopause, but then you hit a point. A lot of times what will happen is people will lose their period for multiple years at that phase, because you start to see period deterioration in terms of levels as soon as honestly your early 20s, and it really ramps up around mid 30s. And what will happen is females will lose their period in their late 40s, early 50s, and they're like, I'm in menopause. But then a few years later, symptoms start hitting you. Hot flashes, night sweats, insomnia. That is menopause. You weren't in menopause. You didn't have a period, but it was because of other reasons. And so we're seeing this constantly because of the stress on the body from under eating and that metabolic adaptation that it can happen.